a lot of people just operate on the momentum that we get up, we start running, we get our cell phones, and the rat race starts. And then in the evening, with a glass of wine, we pass out. And there is just no mindfulness throughout the day. It's just constant doing, running, going, solving, deciding, and connecting, and being constantly in motion. So if you can install one thing of 5 minutes break before you start work to evaluate, okay, what's the most important? 5-minute break at the end of the day to reevaluate. Okay, how am I feeling? How am I feeling internally? Am I exhausted? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Am I worried? Am I excited? And constantly checking in with yourself so you don't let the bad habit take you and carry you into the abyss before you even made an opportunity to say, okay, I'm sorry, I need to relax a little bit.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on what part of the world you're visiting us. And welcome to the Learning Up podcast. My name is Daniel Marcos, the host and CEO of Growth Institute. And I'm here with a good friend, Oksana Esberard, that she's coming from Portugal. And she's a well-being strategist and expert. Hey, Oksana, how are you?
Doing great, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let me read a little bit about your bio. So she's a well-being strategist, meditation master, speaker, author, and yogini. You'll tell us a little bit about that. And she works with executives all over the world to support positive behavioral change by elevating human and organizational well-being. And we know that part of learning, you have to be in a great state of mind and well-being physically and the rest, so you could be able to learn consistently. So we're going to be talking a lot about that. She had transformational experience when she was walking through the Indian Himalayas and led her to SattvaMe. What's the name of your company, by the way? How do you say it?
SattvaMe.
SattvaMe. So first, where are you from originally? You're from Russia, or what part of the world?
Yes, I was born and raised in the Soviet Union, actually, but I haven't been to Russia for a number of years, over 9 years now. I moved there when I was 21 and moved
You
to the
moved to
US.
the US when
I
you were
moved
what? Okay.
when I was 21, and I came to Portugal a little less than 2 years ago. So now I'm residing in Portugal, but my roots, business, and most of the activities are still US based.
So you're the CEO of SattvaMe, and of course, you're the author of the best-selling book, Next Level You. So tell us about your teachings. What do you teach on Next Level You, and what do you do with executives around the world?
It's a broad question. Thank you for asking. I think the way I like to think about it is I share my experiences because, first of all, this journey started by my challenges and struggles, severe anxiety, really high stress levels, multiple burnouts, tragedies in family. I think everybody at some point faces one of these adversities. So I was looking tools to help me, and along the way, I realized that the business world is really lacking interpretation and needs some of the holistic approaches to well-being, and yet there is just this polarities, right? You have this yogi traditions, Indian Himalayas that are really woohoo and really out there. And then there's really more like strict, organized, formal business world. And at least when I started, which was 8 years ago, there's really small bridges in between. So I recognized that I could be that bridge because I speak both languages and I connect to both worlds, and I could be an interpreter. And these tools really help reduce stress levels, help people with anxieties, fears, adversities, any kind of radical life events. And I think business world is full of those.
So what happened to you when you were trekking in the Indian Himalayas that led to this discovery? What happened to you?
Well, tracking is one way to look at it. I actually went for a training there, and I thought I'm just gonna, learn a few meditations. I came really with like Western mindset. I thought I'll learn a few meditations. I thought I would just, look at monkeys. I didn't think much about it. I just wanted more well-being. And I really ended up crying for like 19 days out of 21 of that training because There was so much backlog of suppressed emotions and fears and anxieties that, you're so busy, you just brush it under the carpet and brush it under the carpet. So when I actually arrived and I started to do these breathing techniques, visualizations, guided meditations, freedom movement, which is different from dancing and different from whatever thing people can think about, but really expressing, letting the body and nervous system to unwind itself. It was so much that I literally, as I said, ended up crying for 19 days out of 21.
So great discovery. And what do you learn there that you were not seeing on the West and that you're bringing to the West? What kind of practices, mindset, or things that you discovered there that you thought it was very important to bring back?
I think most important lesson is interconnectedness of everything, because we tend to think on the West of dissection, isolated thing. Here's my business, here's my workout routine, here's my nutrition, and we kind of look at it as really dissected things. Whereas in the Eastern, especially in India, there is more roundedness to that. Everything is included, everything is important. Inside world is not different from the outside world. In fact, whatever how you feel on the inside, which a lot of people in the West learn to hide. Even if you feel unwell, you go outside and say, "How are you?" "I'm great." Right there, it's really believed that you need to make it good on the inside, and then outside will float, outside will resonate. And so this approach of no longer hiding what's really happening inside of you, but looking honestly into the mirror, looking honestly into internal world and fixing it before trying to make something external happen, especially if you want to make the difference, especially if you want to impact others, make the world a better place, which I think many businesses and leaders aspire these days to lead others, right? But how are you leading with yourself first?
So now let's talk about your work with leaders. You work with a lot of leaders of fast-growing firms, BuzzFeed, Microsoft, a lot of mid-market companies that scale fast. What kind of challenges are you seeing in the leadership, and why it's so important that they protect their well-being or they really focus on their well-being?
Yeah, I think the challenges are classic, right? The same challenges that they're facing in growing their business, the same challenges they're facing in their lives. I think the biggest one, which I think people underestimate, is the balance. There is a lot of focus on work, on achievement, of making it happen at all costs, especially entrepreneurs. It's really that drive, the grind, the scaling is huge. And along the sides, they forget about their health, they forget about their relationships, they forget about enjoying life. That there is other things besides that one set goal that they have. And that's where my work comes into place, is to restore that balance, help them recalibrate and not lose sight. Because of course we can install everything we want, but then slowly old habits creep in. And that's why my work is really not like one and done, magic wand, we did this and we are done. It's really a lot about following up, going more of a coaching rather than some magic thing that I can give them and it's all fixed.
So, like, for example, tell me about three tools that you use that you help a leader of a scaling firm kind of go back and really refocus, and or at least be able to regain strength or regain focus whenever they're having a bad day. What kind of tools they use?
Right. I think depending on different situations and depending on the focus, right? What do they want? Do they really want to pour more into their business? Do they want to pour more into their personal well-being? Do they want to pour more into their relationships and their families? However, the beginnings are all the same. Is first is evaluation, looking at where we are at, how satisfied they are. How do they assess themselves? How do they see that others assess them? I think it's the beginning of all strategies in general, right? Where we're at. Then looking into where they want to be, generally I work with increments of 6 months to a year. So let's say in 6 months, how do you see, what are the improvements? And generally it's helping people to slow down and see the gaps. Also, a lot of times there's tunnel vision. So we look at the broader picture, including many aspects, and that's where I need to hold them accountable, that they really incorporate different things. And some of the tools is inclusiveness. So looking at their life is not just as work, but as at least three components: their health themselves, their relationships, and their business, and then equally contributing to these parts at any given moment. The tools that help them to arrive there is tools of training mindfulness, awareness. A lot of people think that I immediately will give you meditation. However, meditation is actually, I would say, it's a quite advanced tool. You need to arrive there to be able to do it, because if you have high levels of anxiety and stress, I would say meditation could backfire. It's not the best tool to start with. So we do a lot of awareness exercises, mindfulness exercises, breathing techniques that help them to get familiar with their body, get familiar with their nervous system, because a lot of them are just disconnected. We are thinking heads up
Yeah.
and we don't feel what's going on through the rest of the body. And so these are just to name a few that we start with to see how they respond. Also, it's a constant feedback loop.
Interesting. All right. So this podcast is all about learning up, and we believe that leaders that scale or that grow and learn to the next level, they could take organizations to the next level. So, but why is so important to have a good well-being? I know whenever I'm out of focus and kind of in stress and a lot of drama, I could not learn, and most importantly, I could not really implement what I learned and really understand and be able to do it. So, what kind of impact you've seen in leaders after they kind of start reconnecting and going back to basics, breathing, and the rest? What kind of impact do you see on executives?
I like to look at it as a visual of a three-legged stool. There are
Right?
different ways to arrive, right? The desire to succeed is universal, and the leaders are there to make impact, to create something that matters, to help others grow, to impact the planet. So whatever the aspiration is, and the way we can arrive there is we either arriving really strong, where we feel fulfilled, we feel complete, and we really feel like our mission is purposeful, and we feel that expansion internally. Very few leaders arrive that way. It's actually 2 to 5%, I would say, that potentially could arrive if they're really mindful and all encompassing in their approach. They usually use a lot of coaches, and they usually include the three buckets, which is their health, well-being, and their relationships at minimum. I usually have 6 areas to evaluate, actually, but let's
Tell
do
us,
this three.
tell us the 6 areas. That's what you teach on your book, right? The next level. You. What?
My book is more about the story. It's full of tools. It's full of practical exercises. But actually, the book shares my story and the teachings that I've learned as I embarked on this journey. And it's really to show people why mindfulness and well-being are important. And generally, they get inspired and they get to test a few tools that they want to incorporate. It's less from the leadership and company position, but more from the personal story position. So it's for those who want to start with themselves. My next
So,
book, I want to do more of a leadership company position.
let's go back to the 3 areas. You say you teach 6, but you want to focus on 3. What are
Yeah,
the 3 areas again? And let me
the,
understand them a
the
little bit
three
better.
areas is really work, because I
Yep.
think all the leaders start from there. Is
Yep.
work, it's well-being, their personal well-being and organizational well-being, and the relationship, the relations, the aspect, the social component. So a lot of leaders focus on work. And they generally forget about themselves, and they sometimes forget even about the well-being of their teams, because we push people, we create competitions and challenges, we aspire to do more and better, the grind, right? It's important to scale, to grow. um, and the relations usually comes from the personal side, the families. Like a lot of entrepreneurs divorce in their late 40s, 50s. I mean, the rates are just
A lot.
staggering.
Yeah.
I've had a number of my clients either broken up relationship, divorced, horrible relationship with children, and we don't just wake up there. We slowly work towards that. And so you can arrive having all these really taken care of. A lot of people are pretty good at doing two, at least. They focus in their, let's say, well-being, whether it's exercises and nutrition, sleep, but they completely don't have energy and time for relation. And then the others could have good relations with family, but they completely undergo their health. They do it at the expense of not sleeping enough, traveling all over the world without having much of breaks, having really full schedules, barely disconnecting. And therefore, the focus is really keep an eye on all areas, as I said, the balance. So if you have a stool with three of these legs, and if one is just a little bit shorter than the other, it's unstable. If you have two shorter than the other, it's not even a stool, it's going to fall. So in order to be functional, stable stool that you want to sit on as your foundation, you need to have all three at minimum. And with that, that's what I call fulfillment. I think there is a difference between success and fulfillment. You can have success without fulfillment, and you can have fulfillment without business success. But if you have the two, I think that's what really a lot of leaders would be after if we have that segmentation and realization. That you want to be successful and fulfilled when you arrive to that success. And I find that fulfillment is not possible if you are out of balance with your work, health, and relations at minimum.
All right, very important. So let me go back to a case study. Like, tell me a company that you work with, what challenges they were having before, what you did, and what happened after. What kind of things they come up or open up once you help them kind of refocus, a leader or a company.
Yeah, I think there are a number of independent leaders that I work with that bring it to their organizations after. One of the consecutive companies that we've been working for 3 years now is called Up Entertainment, and
Okay.
the leader there, I think he's still a member of your organization, and it's a or entrepreneurial organization as well. And you usually start with the leadership, right? With a leader who believes in that, and then potentially it will trickle down to the rest of the organization. And some of the things that we did is the programming for the whole company, where we offer and incorporate well-being techniques, breathing, meditations. It's really tools for people to take, and if they choose to practice and incorporate. And the feedback that we receive usually goes from, I manage my stress so much better. I don't experience anxiety anymore. When I feel that when I need a break, I'm able to take it and I'm able to disconnect guilt free. That I'm no longer just pushing beyond my limits and boundaries until I get sick. Um, the different phobias go away. People sleep better. Obviously, if they sleep better, they recharge better.
Exactly.
And then there is generally better connection at work. There is better relationships at work that they establish with their team, because there's more conversations that happen beyond the work topics. They
Oh, yeah.
bond on the essence of practices. They have conversations about well-being during lunch breaks and other things. So these are some of the things that I could outline that are consistent, not only in this organization, but all organizations that we work with.
Okay. So let me go back to you a little bit. How do you learn? What's your format of learning? How do you know what you need to learn, or how do you choose what you need to learn next? And how do you bring that to your life?
That's an interesting question. I think I learned like everybody else by making mistakes. You first
It's
put
pretty much.
yourself in the corner to the point where it's just the pressure is so high that you crack. And I think that's how I
Yeah.
started to learn all these tools. I I let go of my mental health to the point that I wasn't able to even help myself, that I needed to rely on experts and having teachers, having certifications, learn from others to be able to understand my body, my nervous system. Now I think after it's been over 10 years that I'm doing these practices myself. I feel that now I'm able to learn before the crisis sets in. So I started to recognize that, okay, there's storms swirling. There's just, I'm off balance. There's something happening there. And depending on which area of my life it is, whether it's work, whether it's well being, whether it's relations, I look for experts and help in that area. I find that there are a number of tools that I'm able to apply myself, like consistent meditation practice or even stillness, just sitting down, decompressing, journaling, daydreaming, mindfulness, awareness, breathing exercises, exercise in general. There are a number of tools that I can apply that could help with certain
Yeah.
things. But if things are larger, if imbalance is larger, then I need external help. Then I rely on my coaches. I reach out for people to help me out that are in the field that could bring me back as well.
Right. So going back to that learning, do you have a format for learning? Like you usually go start with books, you start with courses online, you start with YouTube videos. How do you kind of start understanding what you want and understanding who's that who? Because you very clearly said, I look for whoever is the expert, what I need to find. How do you find that expert?
I think I already have a large enough circle that I kind of rely on the circle of people that are around me. But if I need to learn something new, I think I start with audiobooks. The Audible is a great format for me because I can go and kind of learn. And then generally they have some other relation to, okay, this expert has this, there's always quotations and other things. Several courses whenever they're offering of specific course that is complete, like say it's 4 to 8 weeks. Sometimes I purchase those and I learn through that format. And in the past, I would attend conferences, life events, learning retreats. Retreats was a huge part of my learning. Actually, I believe in retreats, and retreat model so much. COVID kind of eroded some of that for me, I think for everyone. But
Now you're far away from the US. I used to come a lot. We met at a retreat in MIT, you and
yeah,
I, many years ago, before COVID, precisely. But now you're also far away. Do you continue to come to events to US or go to more events in Europe?
Portugal is just 5 hours away, so it's
Not
actually
that bad.
located quite well because it's right on the west of the Atlantic, so on the other side.
Yeah,
So the if you want to go to east coast of the US, it's just 5 6 hours. So
yeah,
it's like crossing US, right? It's like
yeah.
going from Miami to LA or New York to LA. It's not that bad. But yes, I go to the events a little bit less. I will be picking up more speed moving into 2024 for my personal learning and also for work related events. But also as for offering our training and coaching for leaders, actually, we're establishing base in Portugal, which is a phenomenal
Yes,
place to visit. You've been,
yeah.
and
Many
there's
times.
so much to see, learn. The environment is so conductive to well-being. The culture is so rich, the food is so delicious, and then bringing team building, bringing mindfulness, bringing well-being practices here. I think it could be of a great value for leaders and leadership teams to disconnect
So,
and have out of
so so
sight.
many so many digital nomads have moved to Portugal. They have a phenomenal golden visa program.
It's
One of the
close.
easiest. It's closing now.
Yep.
Even even
They're
the even the investment one,
Yep.
or
The
everything's
gold
closing.
visa is they had so much foreigners coming in that they were pushed to close it. So I think it's
Interesting.
like a few more months or something, but it's done.
So,
They finished it.
do you know how many people got citizenship in Portugal? Was in the program? I've heard it was like a couple of million people.
Yeah,
It
it
was it was
was
really
grand.
famous.
And it
Yeah.
started to really impact local economy that the pricing started to go high so much
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
obviously foreigners bring their foreign money and local people cannot afford the prices increases. So the local government just had to shut down because it started to force out local population out of cities and not being able to make life affordable for Portuguese.
And Portugal was still one of the affordable places in Europe. I've heard it's not that affordable anymore because of the program. All right.
Yeah.
So before we close this interview, the podcast, so what's the best thing you could recommend someone that it's kind of stuck and it's out of balance and has a lot of pressure and they really want to go to a next level? Einstein used to say, if your level of mindset and tools is here and you create a problem at the same level, you could not fix it because you created that level. You have to elevate your mindset, your tools to be able to fix it. So what do you recommend someone that is kind of stuck and having a challenge and it's completely out of balance to kind of regain so he could really start learning and going to the next level?
I think is first of all pausing and reevaluating, taking a step back, because a lot of times we want to get there so much that we don't have enough fuel, we don't have enough insight, we don't have enough energy, and we keep pushing on that empty of everything. So for me, stillness, if you want to get one tool out of everything, just getting still, sitting down and letting your nervous system to decompress, because we're actually quite intelligent. Our bodies and our brains are very intelligent. If only we'll let ourselves to get out of the way, it can
Yeah.
rebalance. It can rebalance itself. So sleep is one way to rebalance, and a lot of people are cutting back on sleep. So taking like 2-3 days just to rest, sleep, do nothing. Don't think about the problem that is in hand. Just take care of yourself. Eat your favorite food, possibly not popcorn and chips, but something really healthy. Um, disconnect from the problem. A lot of people, when they're so used to high levels of stress and momentum, that's actually very difficult to do. So if you can gather and summon the wisest person ever, just retrieving at first, and you won't actually believe, but the problem will start looking at different angles and different sides. And generally, when people can regain some of the energy back, which is generally gained from sleep, nutrition, and exercise, at least like 80% of that you can regain through these three basics, you will have different insights. You will start to activate creativity and things. So disconnect. Disconnect from the problem at hand, whatever it takes for you to do, even taking yourself physically out of the problem, taking yourself energetically, mentally, emotionally, just get out of there for a few days, then everything gonna have a new light to it.
Okay, last question, because after you said this, I that's how we all get out, and we kind of know how to get out. But what gets us in, or how not to get in that problem? What kind of daily routines do you recommend people so they don't get in and they don't get completely overwhelmed?
It's the systems of checks and balances, asking yourself every day, how am I? And answering honestly. A lot of people just operate on the momentum that we get up, we start running, we get our cell phones, and the rat race starts. And then in the evening, with a glass of wine, we pass out. And there is just no mindfulness throughout the day. It's just constant doing, running, going, solving, deciding, and connecting, and being constantly in motion. So if you can install one thing of 5 minutes break before you start work to evaluate, okay, what's the most
Or
important?
I'm doing
5 minute break at the end of the day to reevaluate. Okay, how am I feeling? How am I feeling internally? Am I exhausted? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Am I worried? Am I excited? And constantly checking in with yourself so you don't let the bad habit take you and carry you into the abyss before you even made an opportunity to say, okay, I'm sorry, I need to relax a little bit.
That's very cool. All right, Oksana, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to connect. I'm so happy you're in Portugal. You and I haven't spoken in a couple of years. A lot of big changes in your life last couple of years. Congrats, looking really, really good. And thank you for your time. In the book that I'm writing, Learning Up, I always say you have to put the oxygen mask first. So you're a faculty at the Growth Institute. It was very important for me to talk about this because I see a lot of people that they say they want to scale, but whenever I see their life, they have so much stress, so much drama, their body is not in the right moment, and it's hard. If they don't get that first, they don't put the oxygen mask first. It's very, very difficult. So great for what you do. Very, very needed for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Congratulations on the book, and super excited to reconnect with you and the audience.
Same to you. Hey, by the way,
Sure. All social media, it's available at SattvaMe, Sattva.me. You could do the website, and then social media at SattvaMe for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. They could also reach out through the website. So, and Next Level You, the book, has a lot of different insights and exercises and practices to start with. And then you can always reach out to me on social media. I'm checking it regularly.
Which is the social you respond in social media? Which of the networks do you respond?
All of them: LinkedIn,
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram. These are the three primary ones that I use.
Sounds great. All right. Oksana, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Daniel. Have a good one.